Everybody, it is Stryker. Hit that subscribe button. We have so many great episodes coming your way. And I want to give a shout out to Velvet Hammer Music and Management Group. They support all the arts from the brands they work with to this podcast, Tuna on Toast. Thank you, Velvet Hammer. Now let's get to the episode.
This is Tuna on Toast.
Podcast host, this is my ad, seeking a guest, 6'4", great head of hair, front man in a band with a 30-year career, also a great body. Nick! There he is. Nick Hexum. There he is!
Yeah.
The man I've been looking for. Hi, Nick.
Beautiful place you got here.
Thank you so much. Wow. It is so good to see you.
It's great to see you.
I was just placing an ad on Craigslist looking for a podcast guest who is roughly 6'4", frontman of a band that's been in our life for 30 years. There
Look who responded.
All right, Nick, watch your head here. Don't smash it. Watch the cameras.
Get out of my way. Okay.
Look how close it is.
Ooh, these cool coasters.
There you go. And they use the coaster. Nick Hexum respects wood.
I'm big into wood.
Then look at the shoe. We're going to get into the shoe in just a minute, but let's start the podcast.
Even my glasses are wood, by the way.
Let's just start right now. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tuna on Toast. I am Ted Stryker. Our guest today has been an important part of all of our lives for more than 30 years, and here he is at my house in the guest bedroom from 311, Nick Hexum. Nick Hexum.
Hey.
It is so good to see you.
Great to see you, Stryker. We've known each other a long time, so it's fun to have another in-depth.
Absolutely. There's a few bands in my life that were there for basically day one of my professional life. And I was cheering you guys on all those years ago when I was living in Tucson. I had just gotten on the radio and I was screaming everybody in Tucson, 311, 311, 311. And then No Doubt came to Tucson and no one knew who they were yet. But Adrian Young was wearing a 711 311 shirt.
That's right.
And so I bonded with him over that.
Yeah.
And then watching you guys over all these years, congratulations on an incredible career.
Thank you. Yeah, that 7-Eleven ripoff was quickly ceased and desist ordered, so it's kind of a collector's item. But yeah, and then now that we're going down memory lane, I remember one of my earlier memories is being on the air with you when you guys were up at Hollywood and Highland.
Yes.
And you had a crowd outside. It was almost like the Today Show or TRL kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And that was the time that I accidentally blurted out live on the air that we were playing the Inland Invasion. Right. And you were like, oh, no, you're not supposed to say that. And I was like, just bright red for ruining the rollout of K-Rock's big show.
I remember that day so well. I was wearing a checkered shirt that day. I still have pictures from that day. And yeah, that broadcasting from Hollywood and Highland was, one of the highlights and weirdest thing, like having you guys come by and that giant crowd watching you.
Yeah, it was the TRL era.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's not a normal summer without 311 doing a ton of shows. Do you know how many years in a row you've done a summer tour and a bunch of gigs?
Every summer except 98. In 98, we only did the Australian and Japan and Hawaii Warped Tour. But other than that, we tour every summer. And then, of course, the year of the pandemic, nobody toured. But we did do the live streaming shows. So June 10th this year will mark 33 years that we've been a band. So that's, I guess, 31 of them we've done nice long summer tours.
So there's been some guests on this show who have had very long, fantastic careers. And a couple of them have said it's not super important for them now to get in the studio and go make 12 new songs every 3 years because they've got 40, 50, 60 songs and they're just so happy with those and they're going to go tour every year. Is it important for you as we hang out here today to continue to do that?
I would say that the itch is building up really strong right now to make new music, because it has been a minute. And I've got some really exciting ideas, and the band was together last week, and we did like 7 or 8 rehearsals where we put together new songs. And so I do relate with the fact that, we've already got a nice body of work that we could just, keep touring on, but there's a lot of exciting ideas kicking around. And now I'm a little bit lamenting the fact that everyone's geographically kind of scattered. Before we actually, for a while, all lived within a mile of each other in Laurel Canyon. Everybody was in Laurel Canyon near the Canyon store.
Right. Oh, I love that
so
little
it's
store.
like every day we would get together at the Hive.
Yeah.
But now people have, when people go, like, I've always heard that people go to Topanga is where LA goes to breed. So I'm raising kids in Topanga, and people are off in Ojai and Arizona and stuff. So it's a little harder to get together, but the itch is strong right now. We're going to make a body of work as soon as we can.
That's exciting for all of us to hear you say that, because if you're putting it out there, we're going to investigate and we're going to check it out and be like, okay, these guys made an album almost every year, 93, 94, 95, 97, 99, 2001. It's like, what a crazy schedule.
Yeah.
And you could easily just, as we talked about a second ago, just be like, oh, we're just going to play these songs. To hear you have the itch, that's exciting to hear. And it kind of, I guess, says a lot to all of us on how all of you tick, that you want to continue to create.
Yeah, well, I think it goes, it ebbs and flows. There's sort of like seasons of like, I think it's good to take little breaks, and then the strongest ideas will build up in you and need to get put out. And so, we've had that sort of winter where we weren't making any new music, and then during that time we do retrospectives. Like during the pandemic, we were streaming albums in their entirety of our first 6 albums, and but now there's just some really exciting modern ideas that we have that need to come out.
Do you drive any of your kids to school ever?
Yes.
When they're in the car and you're riding with them, does your brain, because when I'm driving, but I don't have kids in my car, that's when my brain starts spinning the most creatively, and I don't even realize I just drove 7 blocks. When they're in the car, are you ever like, they're talking, you're like, I have this idea for a song here?
Yeah, well, I think allowing usually my oldest daughter to connect to the Bluetooth and play her favorite new songs. And I heard Tyler, the Creator, from her. I heard Steve Lacy from her. I heard deep cuts of Frank Ocean that I had not heard yet. So it's pretty cool to be influenced by your kids. And then I'll quick Shazam it and add it to a playlist. And what I like to do to absorb songs is just play guitar along with a playlist of like new cool music. I have a playlist called A Current Fave that's all just random, all different genres, songs that I like. And in the evenings, I'll probably put like NBA playoffs on, put it on mute, put on this playlist and just jam along with it. And then it's just a great way to be exposed to new music, and you're kind of internalizing it. I always say that if you want to keep broadening the output, then you have to broaden the input. So hearing new music will inspire you in new directions.
I always thought it was impossible to put 311 into a certain genre. In 2023, it's impossible for 90% of artists to put in any genre.
Yeah.
You've been doing this forever. Is that what you're noticing when you're listening to newer stuff? You're like, I don't know if this is alternative rock, pop, rap, like what is this?
Yeah. And it brings me back to a time when that was a bit of a problem for us, because in the beginning of our band, there was radio was all about the Seattle sound, and it was all about grunge, and having some reggae and hip hop in there was just not really allowed. So that's when we realized that we needed to just be a grassroots organization. That's why we called our second album Grassroots. And we're like, we're just going to tour, take it to the people. Radio is not going to help us. We're just going to tour, tell gold. And we put our stuff in storage and just lived on the road. And because of the problem that we were between genres. But now, that's become okay. And I was hearing a podcast analyzing 21 Pilots the other day, and they were like, well, so what kind of music is 21 Pilots? And the guy was like, it's kind of like 311. Like that's what he said as the genre. I was like, I'll take that as a really nice compliment.
That's very, very cool. I was the first person to play them, man. And there was something about them that first time I heard them, similar to you. I had no clue what they looked like. I didn't know where they were from. I didn't know if it was like 7 wizard musical scientists in the basement. It was 2 guys. You got Tyler Joseph leading the charge.
Yeah, what a talent.
Hey, it takes, when you got 5 human beings and you're young, there is a chance that 1, 2, 3, or 4 of those people don't have the eye of the tiger as someone else in the band. But it seems like almost from day one, everybody had the fire in their belly. And if they didn't, you wouldn't be able to do the things you have done. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was such a magic time that we felt like we were, putting a saddle on a dragon or something. There was just so much energy in the explosion of high energy music and the moshing and like the rebellion that it felt like. But we were always a positive rebellion. You know what I mean? We're not. It wasn't destructive. It was a celebration. It was a magic time that there was a ton of energy. And I think I always had a lot of risk tolerance that the guys tell me now, like, you said we could move to LA and get a deal, and here it happened. And it was pretty crazy to see it all happen.
Were you living, when you moved here, by the Guitar Center on Sunset, or am I making that up?
That's right. On Vista.
On Vista.
Yeah.
Was there a Denny's right there?
There was right next to the Rock and Roll Denny's.
Okay.
And that's when they had $1.99 Grand Slams. So
in my day, I walked 2 hours to school through the snow. $1.99 Grand Slams? And did you go there solo and have meals?
Oh, yeah. All the time. And I would bring the recycler, which is where you would look in the back for people looking to get in a band. And stuff.
Yeah. So
a Musician's Connection was the other one where you could find band members.
When you came to LA, was it just you from the band that got here first and then the others followed suit?
Yeah, so I came to LA when I was 17, graduated early from high school. Right. And then I just kind of floundered around. And at that time, it was all about like Guns N' Roses, and it was the end of like hair metal and stuff and on the Sunset Strip. But I was really interested in Chili Peppers, Jane's Addiction, Fishbone, Mary's Danish. Like there was this really cool scene, but it was still kind of underground, and I couldn't find good people to play with. But I was like, the best people would be my homies from Omaha, and I had met Chad through the jazz band in school, and I had a cover band with Tim. Well, we started doing originals, but it was more like the alternative of that time was, REM and the Smiths and the Cure and kind of English music and stuff. But then then I moved back to I went back to do my summer to do graduation with my class, and then that's when Unity was formed. That was me and Tim and Chad. And that was kind of the birth of the 311 sound in '88. And then me and Chad came out and did a version of Unity where we played at like the Coconut Teaser and the Roxy and other clubs that probably aren't there anymore. And we didn't really get a lot of traction, kind of splintered. Chad decided he wanted to go back to school, and then in 1990 we reformed in Omaha. So it's kind of a long convoluted. Moved here, moved there.
Right. No.
But then that's when it really coalesced. Was opening for Fugazi on June 10th, 1990.
And where was that?
In Omaha.
That was
Sokol Hall.
Yes. Oh my God.
Still there. We played a 25-year anniversary show at Sokol Hall a few years back. So
it's amazing. And also I commend you, and maybe it's because you were young, because I think maybe I did the same thing on a scale a million times smaller than yours, but you didn't get traction when you were here at first. you weren't all of a sudden, they weren't just handing out record contracts. They're like, hey, you just moved here? Yeah. Here you go. So
No, and especially not with the sound that we were doing. You know what I mean? It wasn't what they were looking for.
Man. And so after you opened for Fugazi in Omaha, how much time after that did everyone say, let's get out here to the West Coast?
It was 90 and 91. We were based in Omaha. And then, so we made 3 albums during that time, 2 cassettes, and one we made it actually all the way to CD, which was like a huge accomplishment that we made our own CD in 1991. And then, in 92, we decided to go for it and move out here together. SA was kind of he was like doing guest spots with us before that, and then at that time he became like a full member, and we were like officially a 5-piece. And it was some slim times when we first moved out here. Like we didn't have any money, and it was all just eating top ramen. And we tried to grow our own marijuana and failed miserably. But we all lived in a little house in Van Nuys, and but it was a great time because we just lived and breathed music, and we were either rehearsing or playing basketball like all the time.
When you look at those years, and I'm just going to let's go 90 to 95. Are those the most fun 5 years of your career looking back? I'm not saying in the moment when you're struggling living in the house, you're probably like, how do I get my own freaking apartment down here? But when you look back, is that the top of the heap or no?
I would say if just include 96 too. Okay. I remember 96 being the real most satisfying. I mean, everything was just a crescendo up to that year.
Because the Blue Album came out in 95.
Right. And we recorded the Blue Album when we were living in a house just a couple blocks from here.
No way.
Yes. Yes. So it was fun as I was driving over. I was like, that's the place. I have not been to this neighborhood in a while. So it brings back a lot of memories. But so I guess that would have been 94 that me and Tim and Chad were living here recording the Blue Album.
Right.
And 95. And then in 96, we moved to Laurel Canyon. But just business-wise, everything came to fruition that time. And I remember getting a buzz clip on MTV. You know what I mean? But it wasn't, it just, the shows had gotten so big that it was almost like they had to let us in to the club. You know what I mean? Because we had just built such a groundswell of a fan base just through word of mouth.
And you still have those fans watching you on tour, going on a cruise, 311 day, which is so legendary. And the connection that you have made with each individual person, I mean, I believe should be the goal when you do it in an authentic way, whether you're a comedian, a radio DJ, podcast, or a band. So you've seen it happen right in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
Is there any few things that you can attribute it to? Of course, the live shows rule and the songs rule. Is that it? Is that the combination?
I think that we expect nothing to come to us easily. We expect to work hard to get to where we're going.
Oh, right.
And I think that there was always that a bit of a punk rock ethic of we're not going to be arrogant at all. We're just like our fans. We're just, we treat people really nice when we meet them, that kind of thing. It was sort of the anti, hair metal thing that was happening in LA when we first got here. We wanted to be more like just a punk rock ethic of just being like, we're the same as our fans.
And you are. And you've done so many nice things for me over the years. I've told you on air and off air. Nick Hexum is such an authentically nice guy and has helped me in a zillion ways. So I appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
Of course.
Same, both ways.
Thank you. When your full-length album Music came out and you're leading up to that and you're with the label Capricorn, did anyone try to whisper in your ears to not do your music a certain way and take you off your vision? There's been bands that have been in here that have oh yeah, we had people who thought they knew how we should write and perform and don't put so much of this guitar and it's too heavy for this year. Did you get any of that?
I can't say that we did. We had an early supporter of us was our producer, Eddie Offord, who was the kind of the go-to producer in Prague. He from Yes to Emerson, Lake and Palmer, like this really artsy English progressive music. And so I think he just had that aesthetic of like, let's just be really creative and let the band do their thing. And he was more into sound quality and really good production and engineering rather than like, let's workshop this chorus for a while. He was just kind of let us do our thing in terms of the writing. So
nice.
And we didn't get any real meddling from the label. They thought we had enough hooks and whatever kind of stuff was needed. But, I do also remember that after a month of touring on music, Capricorn Records was part of Warner Brothers at that time. And it basically came down from Mo Austin, who was the top, like, okay, we gave 311 a shot, we're done. Like, we got 1 month of tour support. So then we had to figure out, like, how are we going to continue to tour without any tour support? And that's when we borrowed Chad's dad's RV so we could basically tour for almost nothing and live in the RV. And then it burned down. And
No.
yes, it caught fire.
What, were you going up some steep hill in the middle of nowhere and it overheated?
It was, there was like a backfiring issue, and we just kind of like learned to like, it backfires, like, so what? And enough backfiring eventually caught the floorboards, bottom of the RV on fire,
right,
which spread to the gas line, which we had just filled it up with 100 gallons of gas.
Oh,
and
my God.
It went up so hot and burned up everything. We barely escaped with our lives. And
did you save any? Was there equipment in there that you got out of there?
No, we all, Peanut had taken a ride with our sound man. So it was me and Tim and Chad and Essay, and all four of us only had a pair of shorts on. We had our shoes on, no shirt, and we each had our wallet. So we was like, we just start over with those items. So we just had to borrow clothes, and we borrowed some money from this very generous benefactor, this kid in Omaha that had a rich dad who lent us money to buy another RV, and we were able to pay that back within a year. But it was really this kind of like, hey, all we need is, I remember after the RV went out, I said to Chad, all we need is each other and the songs in our hearts and in our head, and we're going to get through this. You know what I mean? It was like a galvanizing type unifying thing for us to like start over, and all that. What guitar we play it on is not that important. It's just the mission that we're on together.
That leadership and positivity that you've had for so many years, were you like that in elementary school? Were you like that in junior high school?
Well, I probably have been accused of being kind of bossy as a kid. You know what I mean? There's a fine line between bossiness and leadership, but I know that we have a really special chemistry, and that we stumbled on something really great, and that the band has done better together than we could have ever done separately. So, we keep an attitude of gratitude and take care of it. Listen, 2 ears and 1 mouth. You should listen twice as much as you talk. And so keeps working.
Did you ever take a music lesson growing up?
Yeah, I started piano when I was 5 years old, though I'm still resentful that I wasn't allowed to like learn any like rock and roll or anything. My music teacher was all about like minuets and like stuff that really, but so that now with my kids, I like try and like, let's learn a Steve Lacy song. You know what I mean? Let's do a Taylor Swift cover or whatever, just to stoke their passion. But my daughter is actually a very accomplished pianist too, in the traditional sense. But anyway, and then, when I was 12, I switched to guitar, and that's when it really took off. The first song I ever learned on guitar, fun fact,
yes,
I don't know if I've ever said this before, was Margaritaville by Jimmy Buffett. Wasting away again.
Margaritaville.
12-year-olds singing about wasting away on margaritas. And
did you sing the line loud? Some people claim there's a woman to blame.
yeah, but I know it's my own damn fault.
Yeah. That's the first. Now, why did you choose that song? Was it being played in your house by relatives?
My stepdad was my guitar teacher, and he was like, this song is just 3 chords. It's super easy.
Right.
It's just a place to start. It's just the song that he picked, and I liked it. And and then I probably learned, like, Should I Stay or Should I Go?
By
after
the Clash,
that.
yeah. Wow. And then first time singing or performing in front of somebody, were you in plays or was it actually in a band situation?
Yeah, I was in the school chorus, so I think I did have some solos during that. And then there was the school talent show, and I had a chance to tell my number one idol / man crush of all time is Joe Strummer, and I had a chance to tell him that I did my first rock and roll performance was at the school talent show, and we played 3 Clash songs, and we called it a tribute to the Clash, and we did Police and Thieves and Should I Stay or Should I Go and Protex Blue, which was a very rare song that no one had heard. But the music teacher was like, I'm just going to call you The Clash. So my first performance was as The Clash because she shortened it. So Joe Strummer thought that was funny. And cool.
Oh my God, that's so cool, man. So you put out all these albums, as we talked about. Like sometimes it was a year, another year, another year, another year. Looking back at that, I mean, you've got all the success, of course, but was that too much, too quick for your mental health and creative spirit, or was that the right way to do it?
I think that we didn't have a lot of complications in life, that it was just like the band and that's it. So it was, it seemed pretty natural, and you just have a ton of ideas that need to get poured out. I mean, I always say any band's debut is like a greatest hits of all their ideas up to that time.
Right.
They just all get dumped out. And that's why a lot of people's debut is the best, and then they have a sophomore slump. But
because they've been holding on to those ideas and they can't wait to spill it for the last 10 years of their life.
Yeah, it's the greatest hits of your youth.
Right.
Is usually a debut. But yeah, we still had a ton of ideas to keep us. But yeah, it did trail off a little bit. It went from a new album every year until on the Blue album, is the year that we blew up. So we took two years of touring. That's when it kind of started slowing down a little bit.
Right.
But I'd like to get back to more frequent releases. I don't think it needs to be 14 songs at a time. I think it could be smaller collections.
So like 3 here, maybe 2 4 months later.
I would think so. I want to
pretty
reach
cool.
consensus with my bandmates, but that's what I think.
Right. Hey, what was the first official single from the Blue album? Like where radio got it and MTV. What was the first one you guys chose?
So it went All Mixed Up, Don't Stay Home, Down, and then we re-released All Mixed Up because people were paying attention to us finally.
Yeah.
But it was always our third single that did well for us on any, like Amber was the third single on that album. It was almost like, let's put one more before we give up. And Down was that on the Blue album. But I always felt, man, that chorus is so catchy. We got to do Down. And the label was like, that's a little abrasive, a little hard with all that rapping and like row. So, God. But they came around.
Yeah, they came around eventually. Wow. And then what was it like, if you can put into words, and I know you've been asked this a million times, but you're 2 feet from me, where all of a sudden, all the work that you've put in, it's like, and your dreams are coming to fruition you're on MTV all the time. You're on the biggest radio stations in the country. The audience is growing that's at your live shows from a certain amount to a much bigger amount. And boy, oh boy, you guys are just going. Did you enjoy it? What was it like?
Yeah, we loved it.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, I didn't understand. I mean, I guess there's certain artists that get to a level of fame where it feels just like a burden and feels the pressure. We never got anywhere close to that. We always just felt like this is so cool. And now just last week when we were together putting together new songs, like, look at us, man, we're still doing it. Can you believe we're at work right now? This is like a hobby that we happen to be able to do a career of. So I think we've kept a positive attitude about it.
When you guys got together recently and you're all in the room and you're playing these new songs, who is bringing what to the table all these years in? Like you had 10% of the ideas, or like everyone was like, here's what I got, let's try this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it happens different ways. Chad likes to really get intricate on an instrumental, and then he brings it to me in essay. And now Peanut has gotten involved he's been a good contributor to the lyric side. And, I might bring a song completed. I might just say, I'm going to leave this part wide open for someone else to write a part. I just have become more enamored with collaborating because it's just, it makes it like an endless journey. You just can find new people to collaborate with, new situations, new locations that you're collaborating. So
I've learned so much over the last 2 years doing this podcast from musicians about collaborating. And what every single person has said so far is when you're collaborating, if their idea is better than the one you brought in, you just have to give up immediately and you have to be totally selfless with it for the better product.
Yeah. I think it ebbs and flows of how much like initiative that I have. Sometimes I like just get out of the way, like, yes, go with that, let's go. And other times I'm like the one suggesting this and that and this. So, sometimes you're supportive and other times you're more of a leader.
I just want to go back on one thing that I wanted to ask earlier. When you were first touring with other bands, who were some of the bigger bands at that time that you were opening for? Not just one show, or you did like 8, 10, or 20 shows in a run.
Our first opening slot, our first real tour was opening for Boingo. They shortened their name from Oingo Boingo to just Boingo for this tour. And it was like their last actual tour. And this was on the music album. And wow. The people that showed up there it was not our crowd at all. It was an older crowd. But we got to play some really cool places like the Greek in Berkeley and hanging out with Danny Elfman was pretty cool. It was pretty intimidating.
Sure.
And then on the last day of the show, which was in Berkeley, last show of the tour, they like totally hazed us by like, they put like baby powder on the drums. They put like duct tape all over the stage. They put like vodka in our water bottles, like all this. There's just this hazing kind of thing. We kind of knew they were going to do it. So like we didn't get our feelings hurt, but it was a fun show.
That's wild that you were opening your first official tour for Oingo Boingo.
Yeah.
But you said that it was maybe a little bit of an older crowd and they weren't there to see you, but it never is for a younger band for you when you're going out with an established artist when you're young. Like your job is like, we have to put in our effort and 80% of the people may not be paying attention to us.
Yeah. Yeah. That's more emotionally challenging to like have to win people over each night, but still it's nice work if you can get it.
Yeah, of course. So Danny Elfman, did you converse with him a lot on that tour, or did you just like, they're over there, we're going to stay over here?
He was friendly, and he had me and Warren, who was from the Vandals, come out and who like those guys are like huge Oingo Boingo fans, to come out and sing backup on a song on their final show at the Palladium. Wow. I got to go sing, and I didn't really know the words very well, but I certainly tried to fake it.
Wait, hold on. What do artists do when they're singing a song and it's live, of course, and everyone has to space out every now and then. So what do you do?
Well, you just hold the mic right in front of your mouth so nobody can really tell. And it was just like a sing-along to the chorus, so nobody probably noticed.
All right, so we have not addressed, if you are listening to the audio, not watching on YouTube, we're in my spare bedroom, which is the Tuna on Toast studio, and in the center table, Nick brought Shaquille O'Neal's basketball shoe with an autograph to 311, and this was from the performance in Irvine when he joined you on stage for Psycho?
Well, actually, it predates that a little bit.
Oh, it does?
So for the You Wouldn't Believe music video, we had him, he came and did a cameo. And first of all, it was during the NBA playoffs. So he was not allowed to play pickup basketball with a band. He was like, nobody can know about this until like after the playoffs because he was going to get in so much trouble.
On the Lakers at the time?
The Lakers,
okay.
Yes. This was the year that they won, and Phil Jackson would have gotten really mad. And so he came down to our video shoot, which was at the that big dome that's down at the Queen Mary in Long Beach.
Okay.
That's where we shot the music video and
Right.
set up a basketball court for us to play basketball against Shaq. And he showed up and he had 2 left shoes. And he was like, of course, nobody else had a shoe that they could lend him because they're like size like 23 or something.
This thing is as big as the freaking table in here.
Yeah. So he said, you may not film my feet because he had 2 right shoes on.
No, left shoes.
2 left shoes on. You may not film my feet, and if you do, I will sue you.
No.
But it's been so long, he's not going to sue us. So this is
Right.
this is a scoop right here that I'm, and then a few weeks later we did K-Rock's Weenie Roast, and he showed up in his helicopter and joined us on stage to do the song that we recorded with him called Psycho.
Wow.
So I actually am not sure whether the shoe came from which of those 2 things but that was such a cool thing to. I mean, this was the year that the Lakers won. It was, Kobe and Shaq, and and they had just won the championship, and then we did the Weenie Roast. So the place just went crazy, and Shaq jumped into the crowd and like busted his mouth on somebody's head. And
Right.
He said
He was wearing overalls that day.
That's right, overalls and bloody mouth. And we said we made his rock and roll dreams come true. So
Okay, questions about that day, but I want to start with the shoe first.
Yeah.
It is totally torn apart where the sole meets the shoe. I don't know what you call this part. What happened?
It's just degradation of
No.
like being, over 20 years old. The foam just disintegrated. And I think what we used to like to do is like, look, this is so big that I can put my foot with the shoe still on in his shoe. So I think somebody did that, and then it just like, tore up. So.
And I'm looking at it, and I'm not a sneaker expert, but I don't even know what brand of shoe this is.
I think it's his own.
Okay.
It's his own little line of shoes. He didn't have a big Nike deal or anything. It was when the shoe business was definitely more splintered in the 90s.
When is the last time that you've conversed with Shaq, who is a super duper star on TNT NBA stuff?
Well, they had Entertainment Tonight come and cover when he did the appearance at K-Rock. So we did an interview with him that night. I don't think I've seen him since then.
Wow, he had a ball that day, though. I know he did.
Yeah.
Do you remember what happened with this helicopter, which had an S on it, by the way?
Superman.
Yep. What was going on when he took off from the festival?
The guy from Stained was doing a Delicate acoustic song, and then there's like...
So Stained is playing, and they're plugged in, and then Aaron Lewis is like, my bandmates get off stage. Let me play an acoustic song and do a beauty. The second he starts, Shaq's helicopter doesn't take off like and zoom away. It hovers over, and everyone is more interested in Shaq. I mean, Shaquille O'Neal. And poor Aaron Lewis, it's been a while, just did not go well in that moment. Is that one of your highlights of your career, was Shaq on stage? And of course the video on the shoe and all that?
It was definitely one to just be part of the sports and music pinnacle at that time.
Let me please ask about another A-plus level celebrity in my mind, Robert Smith from The Cure. Your version of Love Song. And we love The Cure. I love The Cure. Did you ever talk to Robert Smith? Did he ever say, you guys stink or you guys are great?
Well, I do remember that when it came out, we had heard through someone at our label that he really liked it. So and some people had been like, 311 shouldn't cover The Cure, man. That's like sacrilege. And we're like, hey, Robert Smith likes it, so we'll defer to his opinion rather than yours.
But even if he said it stinks, or if any artist says a cover, who cares? It's like, years ago I would have cared so much. Oh my, but now it's like, who cares? You're an artist. You're going to do it. It's fine. The world's not going to end.
Yes. And we had the bass player, Cure's original bass player, was in our music video playing the bartender.
Oh, wow.
To Love Song. So double endorsement.
Did you do the cover specifically for Adam Sandler's movie, 50 First Dates, or was it done and then the Sandman or whoever said, hey, we want to use this?
It was completely Adam Sandler's idea. Yes.
God.
I mean, he loved the song Amber, and he said, I want that vibe to be the sound of this movie. And I want to cover romantic 80s songs in a tropical style, kind of sound a little bit like Amber. And then he said, I think you guys could crush this song. Brian Ling was our mutual friend.
Brian Ling. Yes. Shout out Brian Ling. Yes. Hello, Brian.
Our mutual friend that was a friend of Adam Sandler's. And so we did it. I do remember that I made a demo, and he said, I like it, but it needs more guitar. So I hadn't added the guitar yet. It was all just keyboards for the first draft.
Yeah.
But then it was a really busy, cool time because I ended up doing like 5. Of course, there was a 311 song, the Love Song cover, but then I did 4 other songs like Lips Like Sugar with Seal, Jason Mraz singing Stop the World, I'm Out With You, and a couple other songs. So that was really cool to get to produce 5 songs for a big time movie.
A great movie that is very rewatchable.
Dates, yeah.
On all the time. Anytime it's on, I'll give anywhere between 4 and 41 minutes of my time on it. It's just like, oh, it's this part when they're about to run over the penguin. I think I can stay for a little bit while here.
It is a classic.
Yeah, so good. All right, I'm going to stick with celebrities, going back to basketball. You are aware, I'm sure, what Klay Thompson said about 311?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to tell everyone what it is? You want me to set it up?
He said that he and Jordan Poole, his fellow Golden State Warrior, they call themselves 311 because his number is 11 and Jordan's number is 3. So Klay Thompson and Jordan Poole are the 311 duo. And then he was like, like 311, like the band.
Right. So that's the key to that, like the band.
Yes.
What is Klay Thompson? It's Nick Hexum right here. What are your 3 favorite 311 songs? Come on, send us a DM.
Any 3 is fine.
Yeah. Okay. I'm putting you on the spot here, and it's a 311 question. What are your favorite 311 albums?
I guess I'll pick one from each era. I think that I can hear our dreams coming true on music. We were so excited to work in a big time studio, and it was just like such a dream come true. It was just like a runaway train, and I can hear that in the music and the excitement. And then I think I'll pick one from our middle era, which was, I feel like on the album Evolver, when we came up with Creatures for a while and kind of got this real, was listening to a ton of Beatles at the time, and this just real hyper melodic creativity that I was just so proud of it. I love that album Evolver. And then I felt we had another kind of rebirth on the Mosaic album, 2 albums ago when we started working in some like really modern production techniques with like builds and drops and a little bit of dubstep mixed. I mean, all kinds of different.
Was there a lot of collaboration on that particular album?
Yeah, that was when we first started working with Feldy. Did
Right.
a couple songs with him.
I like that album a lot.
Yeah, and so those are three that stand out.
Okay, here we go. One more 311 question. What are the three most, for you, not the fans, three most underrated 311 songs where you made them and you're like, this is going to be the biggest song, and then like, it's not as big as some of our other ones.
I like the song Places That the Mind Goes off of the Mosaic album. To me, that is just a spooky love song that just felt like a big step forward to me. And we've only played it, well, actually, I performed it solo at 311 Day a few years back, just by myself. So that's one sleeper. There's another sleeper called Seems Uncertain, which is just about, I think that is on Evolver, and that's about being frustrated by all the division in the world and sort of a sad lament at all the, conflict that was going on. One more sleeper, My Stony Baby off our first album. Just like a cool, funky jam that could have been a single. It was in Harold and Kumar's, one of their...
When they go to White Castle?
I think it was another one. But
They go to Fat Burger? Or is it they go to In-N-Out in that one?
Yeah.
Is that the one? Are you part of the PTA? Are you for your kids? Is there still a PTA like where like all the parents have meetings, and are you like a president or anything of that?
So whenever you start at a school, you get like really dragged into being super active.
Right.
And then like me and my wife, we did our time and we were like very involved, and then we passed the baton to the other new parents. So in the past, yes, I was like helping, coaching, singing for the school play.
Aww.
We were voting on the science committee and doing different things, but it's a lot of fun and a lot of time. So,
And is a question, and I'm sure it's a compliment to you when this happens, but we're all at the age where people have 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds, and those parents, you are right in the wheelhouse of their musical development and loving and going to 50 shows. Are they shy to tell you that they like your music, or do they keep it, hey, I'm the dad of this person? What's it like?
Well, there's such a 90s resurgence going on that like very often my kids will say, my friends flipped out when they found out that you were my dad. So it's kind of cool.
That is very, very cool.
It's pretty nice. And my middle daughter, Maxine, is going to school with two of Dave Grohl's kids, and they sit around and talk music a lot. So it's very positive. And I, like I said, they exposed me to a lot of cool new music. But the styles that they're wearing with the baggy jeans and the baggy sweatshirts and the Vans, and like it is just straight out of the 90s.
Is there a way to explain why that's happening? Has that always happened? I don't remember the 60s all of a sudden being big in the 90s.
No, I do.
You do?
Yeah, there was a big hippie resurgence with the Grateful Dead and girls wearing like flower dresses and Birkenstocks.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah, in the 90s.
Right.
I was in... if you look on the cover, the album photo for music, I had really long sort of Jim Morrison hair, and so I was still in my hippie phase at that time. But then we kind of got more into LA, like hip hop, and like shaved our heads.
Right.
But back to the fire story, my hair burned up in the fire. I had to jump through flames to get out of the RV. So I remember I ran up the hill to get away from the burning RV, and I put my hand in my hair, and it was just dust. It was just ashes. It just like all fell out from being singed.
No.
So I had like this half of my hair was burned, and I had burns on my arm. And
Oh my God.
and so I just shaved my head and kept it shaved for a long time after.
Right. Have you ever thought you got a great head of hair, man? I'm very jealous of your head of hair. I gotta be. You ever think of just growing it out again, or is it going to be clean, parted? Which you look beautiful, man. You do.
I don't know. I actually, the one thing I always go back to is where I started in rock and roll was my dad's love of like 50s cultures and cars and rockabilly and that kind of vibe. So I think I'm channeling Elvis a little bit. I don't know.
Oh, I like that. Have you seen any? Are you like? What are your favorite couple TV shows that you and your wife have streamed over the last few years? You're like, I love these shows, or whether they're reality shows or scripted shows, comedies.
Well, I enjoy learning about cults. So anytime there's like a recreation of Waco or whatever, I'm all over that.
Yep.
There's one right now called Waco Aftermath on Showtime. That's very, very good.
Okay.
Yeah, we're into the similar as everybody else, the Ted Lassos and Succession. And,
Yes. Oh, Succession. We're not going to do spoilers, but the acting on it is so good. The most recent episode, a top 3 so far.
Oh yeah, no, it's just like breathtaking. All the crazy twists and the tension. That's really well done. But other than that, we usually skew a little bit more like documentary oriented. We're actually really into master classes right now, learning about startups and different kind of things. So I like information as much as I want to be entertained.
If you could start a business right now, would you want to open like a sandwich shop, or like what would you want to do?
Well, we are working on something.
Oh, you are?
Which is a way for musicians to get the services that they need to be able to put out music and not have to get ripped off by a record company. So that's all I can say right now.
Okay. Well, and what led you to wanting to do that?
Well, I think it was back to my experience in the early days of 311 of being doing everything ourselves, from funding our own first record to being our own record company, to take it around to sell on consignment and booking shows and doing all that. And I think we would have enjoyed staying independent longer, but there really was a stranglehold that the major labels had. You really could not get a wide distribution and get on the radio and stuff to be exposed to more fans without going through some kind of a label system. So, but that's changing now a lot, and there's a lot of big artists, whether it's Chance the Rapper or Lizzo or Frank Ocean, different people who are able to really make a go of it independently. So I think there's a definite space there to help independent artists do promotion and have sort of self-serve careers without having to do the old label model. I think it's
right.
That's the great thing about the internet is there's this big democratization going on, and so I've enjoyed, just like we're doing this from your guest bedroom now. I've loved being on Twitch and doing cover songs and jamming and things that now there's just so many different little esoteric mom and pop artists that can make a career out of a smaller fan base by having these direct relationships. So
right.
I want to encourage that.
That's fantastic, man. 10 years ago, or maybe I don't think I could have done something like this in my room with the setup and the look I would have been like, I need 10 people, or I need approval from a big company to give money to. It's like, you can really put out product, and if it's decent, people, their eyeballs will be on it, their ears are going to be on it.
Yeah.
Do you know M Shadows at all from Avenged Sevenfold? Because, well, I can't explain exactly what they're doing. They're doing something that seems to be different than the past.
Yes, he just came onto my radar recently about ticketing and NFTs and
Correct.
how to circumvent scalpers and stuff, and I love it.
And how they're releasing the music, I think, is a little bit different, and preventing like songs that are AI to I don't know. There's a whole thing. many, many pages of reading, but I feel like that they are on the right direction, and you too. That's really cool, man.
Yeah.
I was just reading the other day, and I think it could be only in Southern California. You guys have the Come Original beer? Where and how do we get that sucker? And who from the band is tasting that to give the thumbs up that they like it?
Peanut and SA are the beer aficionados.
Okay.
So yes, that it's all about distribution, and I think we've got a better situation. We had the Amber Ale before, and then that company folded. So this is a new one, and I hear it's great.
That's fantastic, man. Before you guys play some shows, we're almost in May as we sit here today, but then the big tour starts later. But you do have shows coming up. How many more rehearsals are you going to have? And do you think the rehearsals will lead to creating some more new songs when you're together?
Well, I think the next time I see the guys will be in Memphis when we have our Cinco de Mayo show, because we just were playing last week. And then we're going to get together in June to work on the new music.
Okay. That's very exciting. Congratulations. So why don't we I think like we've hit so many different things today.
It's sprawling, informative.
Yeah.
I laughed, I cried.
You cried because of how, after all these years, I still don't know what I'm doing around here. Thank you so much for bringing the Shaq shoe, and it's so nice of you to let me keep it here on the back. Or are you taking that with you?
It's not mine to give.
No, I know, of course not. No, I wouldn't. Okay, Nick, I said it earlier, I'll say it again. Thank you so much for the friendship and just being so selfless over the years, and for you and the guys. You've created a million great times for millions of people out there. You guys are the ones responsible for it, so thank you.
Thank you. You've supported us for so long. I really appreciate it.
Of course, of course. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it right there. That's been another episode. For Nick Hexum, Fine 311 on the road. Big tours coming up. I am Stryker. Happy snuggles. Bye-bye. Hope you enjoyed. Now hit that subscribe button. And for more Tuna on Toast, listen wherever you get your podcasts.